Grimsby Town are a club that have made tremendous strides, I think, over the last 18 months or so. I think at the moment what we saw last season was probably the best footballing side at Blundell Park that certainly I've seen in my time covering the EFL over the last 10, 11 years. And possibly the best footballing side that a lot of Mariners have seen there, possibly since the Alan Buckley days. So I think they're definitely on the right track. They just missed out on the playoffs last season by a whisker, losing, of course, to AFC Wimbledon, who did get promoted on the final day. But having finished 21st the year before, so huge strides. If they make huge strides again to that scale, they'll be promoted, and you can tell how many players have improved under David Artell's leadership. But how close is this squad to being one that can compete at the top end of League One? Plenty to discuss then on this Summer Deep Dive. Yes, welcome along to EFL Debate. This is a new series of Summer Deep Dives. I'm speaking to a fan of each of the 72 clubs across the EFL between mid-June and mid-July. So if you want more of that, you can get subscribed to us on YouTube and on Spotify, and that would be a massive help. For now, I'm delighted to be joined by Adam Howard from the View from the Findus podcast. Adam, you must feel really excited about the progress Grimsby Town have made recently.
Oh, massively, yeah. To go from 21st up to 9th within a year is wonderful progress. And you said there in the introduction that we'd need to make huge strides to threaten to be, if we make similar progress, to where that would put us. Well, actually, I don't think we even need to make that big a leap, do we, next time? Just a small step this time, a couple of players, a couple of extra points, and suddenly it's potentially not just a good season, but a successful season. So, very exciting times, and very excited for this pod tonight, Gab. I've just gone slightly different, because when I do the pods, I normally sit on the floor. I don't know why. It's just something I've got into doing.
I didn't know that.
Put the laptop on the puffy and sit on the floor. If you look back at the old ones, my head comes up to about there on the armchair, and you can just. I'm slightly paranoid. People are thinking I'm about 3 foot, so I've pulled the table out and we're higher up tonight, Gab. So,
right. Well, sitting on the floor carries a kind of Buddhist monk kind of vibes. Is that? I don't know if that's what you're going for.
I think it's just from following town, mate. There's been many a times where I feel like I need to lay down on the floor after being at Blundell Park.
Yeah. I mean, I think I want to sort of start at the top, really, for Grimsby Town and the ownership regime. I think that you can almost take it for granted sometimes when you've got people who've been there for coming up to 4 or 5 years now. Flown by, hasn't it? But yes. I think that they do a fantastic job, don't they? Jason Stockwood and Andrew Petit, the leadership that they bring at the top of the club.
They do, yeah. They do feel like new owners still. I'm not sure why that is. I think possibly because the old regime hung around for so long, and we wanted rid for many a year, and obviously they did nigh on 20 years or whatever it was. So they do feel like fairly new still, fairly new, shiny and exciting. And like you say, it is 4 or 5 years now since they took over. But yeah, they're doing a fabulous job. I mean, obviously, you don't see everything as a fan. You don't. You're not in every meeting. You don't know what exactly goes on. But I could imagine enjoying working for them, working with them. And I'm just a fan, and I look at them, and there's certain owners across the country that you think, I wouldn't even want to meet you in the pub, let alone work with you. Stockwood and Petit, I would quite happily work for, and I could imagine they would be the sort of people that would listen to you, the sort of people that would take ideas on board, but also would be driven and would want success. And I think we're seeing all those things. And I think that's why, as a club, in many areas, we are improving.
Yeah, I think what I like about them is that while they are transparent and they are open to hearing what supporters have to say and sort of inviting that feedback as much as taking it, I think they also don't stand on ceremony, and I quite like that as well. The fact that they're not so desperate to say every last thing that some owners that you would say they are very honest, but they're also quite intense. I think Jason Stockwood and Andrew Pettit seem to know when to take a step back as well, so they get the balance spot on for me. And I think you could underestimate how much that leadership style can kind of trickle down the club, and I think that's what we're seeing at Blendell Park.
Of course. Also, I guess nowadays with social media, with fans' expectations, there's so much in the scrutiny nowadays. Clubs owners, they're expected to be there. People know a lot about them. They're expecting statements. They're expecting this to happen.
Well, Adam, in your day back in the 1960s, but I guess in a previous era, it wasn't so much like that. It was more that the owners just kind of did the business, and that was that, and fans were focused on what was happening on the pitch. But nowadays, I think people look at the more operational side of football clubs, and it's scrutinised a lot more. So I think you're totally right to make that point.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I think even like down to, I guess, just society as a whole nowadays, we're desperate for things to happen instantly. We're desperate to, I mean, the transfer windows are a nightmare now, aren't they? Because just every tweet that a club puts out, it's followed by people, can we have a signing? What about a player coming in?
Or when another club makes a signing, why aren't we making signings?
Exactly, yeah. We should be signing him. We should be after him. I mean, those all the rumours of Regan Linney with Grimsby, and obviously that didn't come off. How much we were in for him. It could be that we were not even at all. I mean, I've heard rumours that we were, but you just don't know. But I mean, we're reminiscing here, Gab, before we've even started. But I do remember like the old days of I'd go on holiday before smartphones, before social media, and you'd come back a week or 10 days or 2 weeks later to read the message board to see it catch up. Oh, we've signed 3 players while we've been away. Oh, and he's left. And it wasn't that instant and you're desperate to find out there and then. It was a case of, you had to, things were a bit slower.
Yeah. And I think it had its advantages, that for sure. Since you mentioned recruitment, bit of a change in that regard as head of recruitment Joe Hutchinson has left. Obviously done some pretty good work on the face of things with the recruitment that's happened over the last 18 months or so. I mean, you wouldn't necessarily choose end of May, start of June as the time to lose your head of recruitment. But I mean, I imagine a lot of the lists have already been drawn up.
Yeah. I mean, somebody on our pod actually happened to be spoken. Bye, I can tell it's been a long day, Gab. Let me try that one again. Happened to be speaking to Joe Hutchinson only a couple of weeks ago.
Do you teach English at your school, Adam?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No comment. And he actually had a chat with him saying, busy few weeks for you coming up then, before he knew that Joe was leaving. Sure. And he said, apparently Joe said, well, actually, a lot of the hard work's been done in terms of drawing up the shortlists and looking at the data. And I guess more than anything, that's his job when it comes to actually then talking to the players, Artel and the ownership team. I presume step in a lot there. So, yeah.
Yeah, I imagine Polly Bancroft on the finances is quite prominent when it comes to negotiations and that side of things.
Yeah. So, it's on the surface, it seems like dreadful timing, but it doesn't concern me massively. If I'd heard that our relationship with Jamestown had broken down in this last week or two, I would be a lot more worried. But I do feel, I think Joe's done a good job, and I'm certain he's been very useful. But I'm also certain that there is another Joe Hutchinson out there ready to step in and using the new data approach and using the knowledge of those other members of staff at the club now. I'm confident that the future's bright for recruitment at Grimsby Town, and I include this window within that. I don't think it will have scuppered things too much.
And just to add to that, Adam, I think you make an excellent point. And I also think head of recruitment at Grimsby Town Football Club, for anyone who might be listening that's sort of interested, I think it's a fantastic job for somebody, because on the one hand, you're a forward-looking football club that's open-minded to different ideas and different methods. So it's got a growth mindset. And also you're working with somebody like David Artell, who I know from first-hand experience is open to perspectives of people who haven't necessarily played the game, where other managers, they might be a bit more insular and a bit more, you're only going to really listen to people who have played the game and been there, and that's understandable. But I don't think Artell would necessarily be like that. So again, on multiple fronts and the upward trajectory of the club that we've seen, I think it's a really attractive proposition. So somebody talented that's very good at spotting the data and looking at players and studying the clips. I think this is a fantastic job for somebody.
And you would have thought with the whole Jamestown link, there's a great support network there as well. I'm sure they will work closely with the recruitment team at Brighton, Hearts, possibly some of those other European sides as well. So there's potential, I guess, to make yourself look very good in that role as well. I mean, if this Jamestown link works really well and we do sign a few hidden gems in the next year or so, and you're head of recruitment, I mean, that can really put your name on the map. So, I think there's a lot of reasons why people would be tempted to go for that job.
Yeah, for sure.
So when you're going for it then, Gab, when's the CV going in?
In terms of Artell, then, I mean, it felt to me like in his first season, I think because he didn't quite have the personnel that he wanted and took a bit of time to get his ideas across, the impression I got was that about half of the fan base were all in and pretty excited about what he had to do, and maybe half were kind of questioning the direction it was going in. Whereas I think right now, I imagine it's 90-95% of the fan base that are all in on the Artell project, if you like, and maybe 5 or 10% that maybe have a different stance on things, but very much in the minority.
It doesn't matter where you go in the world, you always get that 5% of characters, don't you? And you can go anywhere, Gab, and there's always those characters in any walk of life, in any workplace, and if any of my work colleagues are listening, I'm not going to name who that is. So I think you're dead right. I think the fan base, the vast majority of the fan base is bought into the project and believes in what Artell and the wider club is trying to do at the moment. I mean, it's hard not to be after the progress we've just made. However, you know yourself what it's like in football these days. Fans want progress year on year, and if suddenly even a 10th place finish next year, and there could be people that start falling into that other camp there, and we could be going back to more of a 50-50 split. So, and that's the difficult, I guess, position you're in as a football manager, because...
Well, that's the other thing, Adam. To make progress, you've got to finish in the top 7. I suppose, and if fans are always going to want progress, so you almost create, I think, by achieving ahead of schedule, you can almost put more pressure on yourself. And I think in football, I think John Coleman has often said it, you can raise expectations, but you can't lower them because that's just how football works.
Yeah, and also there are so many variables in there. And luck is certainly one of them in terms of. I mean, last season we suffered with several injuries, and you can point at potentially, well, was that the recruitment? Was that just the training techniques? Sometimes it's just rank bad luck, and something like that happens again next season, you hit a rough patch of form and finish 12th, and suddenly, yeah, like you say, you can have done everything right as that manager. You can be doing an even better job than you've done this season. The recruitment could have been spot on. Bit of bad luck, and suddenly it doesn't look like progress. And but again, with the data, with the mindset, with the personalities, I do feel that we have owners here that will try and look at that bigger picture, that won't just look at where we are in that league table.
100%, yeah.
So, yeah, I guess Artel's in a safer position there than some managers across the country currently are.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you've got a nice blend of Artel and then also some coaches in Sean Pearson, who I think started out quite a long time ago coaching the really young sort of youth age groups at Grimsby, might be under nines or something like that initially, and has kind of worked his way up, and Ben Davis as well. So a couple of really talented coaches, and then a manager who knows how to implement his style. So hopefully that should bode well. I wanted to take a look at the squad then, Adam, and I think it's pretty obvious that you're going to need a goalkeeper, because at the moment the only two you've got are Jordan Wright, who's transfer listed, and Seb Orton, who is either 17 or might be 18 now, I'm not sure, but probably needs a National League Northern Premier League loan, I would imagine. So need a couple of goalkeepers. It's pretty straightforward, that one, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I mean, I fully expected Eastwood to be released on the back of he came in at the end of the season, but the fact that neither him nor Wright had impressed last season, I always thought he would be the casualty, because Wright had another year on his contract. When the retain list came out, I think the thing that shocked me personally, I didn't see it coming, although I think bold move, is that we're looking to get rid of both goalkeepers. I actually presumed that we'd probably end up keeping Wright, thinking he's going to be the backup next season, and try and bring somebody else in. So, yeah, I thought that's interesting. I mean, whether we will be able to shift Wright on, it could be one of those classics where he's loaned out to somebody in the conference or in the National League, where they're paying a percentage of his wages for the year, and we never actually see him again because it's a season-long loan. And
he's out of contract in 2026, isn't he?
Yeah, and I guess as well, with players like that, it can look like they're not going to go anywhere, and then an injury forces another club to move for a goalkeeper, and suddenly he does go. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting, that one, and it'll be interesting to see what route we go down. I mean, we've seen a couple of teams, Wimbledon, obviously, who we played last game of the season and who inevitably went up. They went down the route of, obviously, the goalkeeper from Crystal Palace. So whether we will go down the young goalkeeper from the Premiership route, or whether we will sign somebody more
calling it the Premiership, Adam.
yeah. I am, yeah.
One off calling it the First Division.
Yeah. So, yeah. But yeah, who knows who that will be? Obviously, there's a few available. I have seen today that Newport have announced that Nick Townsend is saying goodbye to them.
Yeah.
Where he will end up, who knows? But you stranger things have happened. He's an experienced keeper at this level. I think quite highly thought of at Newport. So you never know, that he could be the man, or it could be somebody completely different.
I tell you what, I saw Newport play at Morecambe back in August, and Nick Townsend produced one of the best saves I've seen in League Two last season. He just incredible reaction. So he's certainly a brilliant shot stopper. I guess what I'm really curious about is how much the recruitment team, whoever that comprises of at the moment, prioritizes the distribution as an attribute, because I still think we have to say shot stopping is the most important thing in a goalkeeper, but I think if you've got a goalkeeper who can distribute well and contribute to the style of play that Artel wants to continue to implement, then that could help.
Yeah, I mean, I think both goalkeepers that last season, that was something that really let them down. The distribution, they were not as comfortable with the feet. Yeah, there was a lot of footballs whistled past my head in the main stand from goal kicks and kick it out. So yeah, I do, like you say, I do think they'll be looking for a player that is comfortable to play, and almost they end up playing that sweeper role at times, keepers these days, don't they? The new style of play. Having said that, I do think, especially Jordan Wright, there was his shot stopping left a lot to be desired at times last season as well. So yeah, I mean, I guess the problem is with League Two, it is harder to find that all-round goalkeeper that's comfortable and consistently does both, because if they do that, they're not League Two for very long, are they? So that's the challenge often at this level.
Yeah, it's whether you want to go for somebody who's a good shot stopper and can distribute, but then they might have a weakness, which is the command of the area. But then you think you've got somebody like Doug Tharm who can head balls out of the box and it won't be as an issue. So it's all those sorts of things that you've got to balance. I mean, you won't have seen much of Seb Orton unless you're at Carlisle last season. Because that was his one appearance, but it's nice to see players kind of coming through the academy, isn't it? And sort of getting a look in, even if this one was sort of enforced through circumstance.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, unfortunately, Carlisle, I wasn't at last season, so no, I haven't seen him. But yeah, of course, it's you bringing those youngsters through. Obviously, Seb Orton, Henry Brown's the other one that managed to get a 2-year contract, which is lovely to see, because it's so often a 1-year contract. They don't progress and out they go. And at that age, 1 year, and you do think, sometimes a couple of years just gives them that stability to progress. And
did you get a look at Henry Brown in pre-season last year, Adam? Because I think he scored against either Cleetown or Grimsby Borough, I think.
Yeah, I think it was Cleetown. I don't know. Yeah, going back a long time here. Yeah, I've seen little bits of him. Again, it looks quite a good technical player. Looks comfortable with the ball at his feet. From the bits I've seen, which is probably why he's got that 2-year contract, because I think that's what Artell likes above anything, isn't it? Players that are comfortable to take the ball in tight spaces and keep hold of it, sort of thing. He likes that sort of player, the George McEachran role.
Yeah.
So yeah, like you say, great to see a couple of youngsters coming in, and hopefully one of or both of them will end up representing us regularly at some point in the future.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's not easy, is it? I mean, so many of them come and go. So best of luck to both those lads. Fingers crossed for
them. So right back then, Adam, we've obviously seen Lewis Cass go to Harrogate Town. I think he's a reasonably solid right back at this level, but not someone who's really going to move the needle. So I don't see that as an enormous loss. But I'm wondering whether you think Tyrrell Warren can kick on a bit more this year.
Yeah, I mean, with Cass, it's one of those. I was fairly indifferent when I heard the news. Like you say, yeah, I think I've had stronger opinions about cheese sandwiches, to be honest, Gab. Either way, I'll just sort of, it's all right, isn't it? On the fence, if I'm honest. So yeah, he was okay. I think absolutely spot on there. He isn't going to be somebody that absolutely wows you, but okay fullback. If he'd have stayed, I wouldn't have been disappointed. The fact he's gone, I'm not disappointed. Nice place, Harrogate. Can see why he's gone.
Yeah. Sourdough, I think, is the best one for a cheese sandwich. Best bread for a cheese sandwich, by the way.
Yeah. Very posh there, Gab. Very posh. There's not much sourdough in Grimsby.
No, that's true.
Plenty of sour, but
slightly further afield from a sourdough.
Yeah, plenty of sour. In terms of Warren, flashes of him. Yeah, at the end of the season, he was looking good, looking comfortable. But yeah, I still think especially if we're going for the 4 at the back, a new right back will be a priority. I mean, again, it's all whether he goes back to the 4-3-3 or whether we retain the wing backs. which obviously,
I think he'll go back to the 4-3-3 if I had to put money
Mm.
on it, because not that I know anything, but I think whenever Artel's played with wing backs, it's tended to be reacting to something in the squad, and I think
yeah,
he's content to do that. But I think 4-3-3 or maybe 4-2-3-1 is really how he would prefer to go about things. So if I had to predict, I would say he's going to recruit for 4-3-3 this summer primarily.
yeah, then new right back needed.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, hopefully you can recruit someone, and yeah, hopefully maybe that could kick something in Tyrrell Warren, and he can show. He did show versatility actually, because he did play on the left of back three, didn't he?
Yeah,
So,
the fact it was on the left of a back three,
I know.
where that came from, thought that was peculiar. But whether it was because Rodgers was doing so well on that right hand side of the back three,
Yeah, I would have guessed Rodgers would have played on the left of a back three, and Warren would have been on the right. So that I was slightly surprised about that, but
yeah, likewise.
it worked out okay. So central defence, the big one for me, I think, is Cameron McJanet. I think he makes such a difference. I mean, as you know, I was at the Wimbledon game on the final day, and I thought when he came on, he brought a lot to the team in terms of ball progression. And yeah, I think he's going to be in for a big season. I think he could be one of the best centre halves in League Two next year.
Yeah, I mean that's bold praise, Gab. Yeah, I like him, and as well, he hasn't had much English league experience until now. I mean, he played a lot last season. Now suddenly having that actual pre-season with us and having a second year, I can see why you're thinking that. I can definitely see him progressing. He's also probably out of all of them, the one that's most comfortable with the ball at his feet. Again,
Sure.
he's the most technical footballer, the most
It
comfortable in
feels,
possession.
Adam, doesn't it, like Harvey Rodgers and Doug Tharm have had to adapt to it, and I think they've done that well. However, I think McJanet, you can see he's got that bit of ease with the ball at his feet, and I do think that makes a difference.
Yeah, I mean, I think Doug Tharm, potentially, if we were in, so obviously not last season, but the season before, if we were in a better position, I'm not sure Doug Tharm comes in. I think him and Curtis Thompson almost felt a bit like signings, needs must, we need to stay up here.
Sure.
And you can see why you'd go for both of those at that time. I mean, Curtis Thompson, just defensive, like destroyer, let's sit. And Doug Tharm was your big, strong, no-nonsense centre-half, which when you're under the cosh, head everything, kick everything away. You can see why they were brought in. Would Doug Tharm be brought in now this summer? Possibly not, if you're looking at the data and the way we're trying to play. However, I still think there's a place for him. I like Tharm. I think Rodgers kicked on a bit last season as well. And even
certainly
in more,
second half of the season, I thought his form was pretty good.
Definitely. And even from an offensive viewpoint going forward, he offered plenty, because he would often bomb forward and join the more or join some of our attacks and cause chaos. So I like all three of them. If we can bring somebody in that's even better than all three, we could be laughing.
Yeah.
We could be looking at,
Do you think then, Adam, would it be fair for me to say that another senior centre half that's could be ready to go in and be a go straight into that best 11 is a nice to have, but not necessarily a must have, in the same way you absolutely need a goalkeeper. Whereas, you know, if you signed another centre half, I think you probably will bring in another centre half, but if you sign another first choice centre half, somebody that could upgrade to the best 11, that would be great, but it's not something that you would say it's right at the top of the priority list.
Of course, yeah. If we go into that first game of the season and we haven't signed a centre half, I'm not panicking. If we go into the first game of the season, we haven't signed a keeper. It's worrying, isn't it? Because we've got a bloke in goal who we've said that, thanks but no thanks to, or we've got a young lad in goal who's played one game.
Yeah.
So it's not priority. And I'm sure we're heading up the pitch. There's other priorities further up that pitch as well, Gab, isn't there?
Absolutely. So left back, it looks increasingly like Denver Hume isn't going to sign a new deal, and I imagine he's going to go to a League One club. And Matty Carson is transfer listed as well, so it wouldn't surprise me if he left this window. So I think we're looking at least one left back coming in, aren't we?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a shame, but I 4 or 5 months ago, I expected we'd be in this position with Denver Hume. I just, yeah, contract up. He'd been offered contracts, obviously, hadn't signed them. Put himself completely in the shop window with those assists. It had a great season. He was always likely to move higher up. I've heard Lincoln, I've heard Doncaster as the couple of rumours, but whether that's just lazy rumours, where's the league above fairly close to us? Doncaster, Lincoln, it's going to be them. So you know, yeah. So I mean, he could sign for anybody at that sort of level. Who knows? But yeah, I think sadly we're saying goodbye to Denver Hume. I'd love to be wrong, but I expect in this next week or so we'll find out that I'm not, and you're not as well. And obviously Carson, we've said that he can leave as well. He was the other one that was transfer listed, so he was a one that obviously we signed with potential, seen something either within the data or within a bit of scouting. Unfortunately, it doesn't always work, does it? I mean, you with whatever data, whatever your practices you put into place, there's going to be things that go wrong. People don't progress as you expect. Stuff happens in people's personal lives that changes their focus. All sorts of different reasons.
One thing I would say, though, Adam, is that if Grimsby were to move forward with the wing-back system, I think there's a bit more of a chance that it could work out for Matty Carson, because I've spoken to another manager that he's worked under who said, he hasn't got a defensive bone in his body, and clearly that's a massive glaring error. But I also can see wing backs in other teams in League Two that are very attack minded, that do very well without being very good defensively. So I do think that it's possible, if you're a sublime technician and somebody who's extremely talented, which I think Carson is, I do think there could be a world where in a wing back system it could work out for him. But again, I mean, it's one of the reasons that makes me think Artel's moving to a back four is I just don't think he can play left back in a back four. I don't think it's going to work for him like that. Certainly not at this level.
Yeah, I agree. And also, actually, that was levelled at Denver Hume at times, that he couldn't defend, which I always felt was a bit harsh. I always thought he's an average average League Two defender, but going forward, he offers you a lot. I mean, he created a lot for us. So yeah, potentially with Carson, but again, I fully expect to see him probably loaned out for the season to somebody lower down. He's transfer listed, but he could easily be one of those season-long loan deals where he ends up somewhere, someone paying half of his wages for the year, or who knows. But certainly we're in the market for fullbacks, yes. Both sides.
I think probably for left back, I don't think it would make sense to bring in two peak age left backs, because I think that would probably take up too much of the budget. So what I think is probably going to be the approach is sign one that you're going to say, right, you're my first choice left back, and maybe sign an understudy who's a bit younger, who could play 5 or 10 games, but is more expected to sort of be on the periphery and then step in when required. So that if you have a situation where Denver Hume is, like you've had with Denver Hume, this next player is ready to step up to the mantle. That's how I could imagine the club playing it with left back.
Certainly, yeah. That sounds very sensible to me, Gab. I got much more to add to that,
Yeah, fair enough.
Sounds great, yeah. Spot
on. Right. So midfield then. I think 4 senior options there, all of a good standard for 3 positions, because you've got George McEachran, but he might go. But you've got Tilly, who signed in January, who looks like a ready-made replacement for McEachran. You've got Evan Curry and Kieran Green with Henry Brown also in the mix. But McEachran, I suppose, a lot's going to depend on whether or not you can retain him.
Do you know what? just before I talk about McEachran, there has been the odd time you've just said to you there that I've got nothing else to say about the left back situation. Then you've gone through those.
Now you've got something to say about the left back situation.
And I've just suddenly got, it's all over this one. I've ruined this one, Gav.
We're jumping
absolute
back
flop for you, this one. Yeah, I can only apologise. This is about your second
what we'll have is I'll ask you about the attack and then you'll say something about the midfield.
Yeah, exactly. We'll jump back to Jordan Wright. Remember that McEwen we had a few years ago? Now, just with you mentioning those midfielders, I know Artell has mentioned Corey potentially being a left back at times and has even played him there a couple of times and said that he has got qualities to switch into that position. Whether that would be in his thinking, I don't know, to use this summer to try and potentially, if Denver doesn't sign, move Ev across there, maybe. Or would he feel he's losing him from the midfield? But I don't know. It's an option. Anyway, McEachran.
Sure.
Yeah, excellent. I mean, he player of the season, outstanding. Still baffles me that he was released by Swindon. But again, it goes back to that thing of you can never read too much into what other fans say when players are released, because a lot of their comments were quite negative about him. And certain players just hit it off in certain formations at certain clubs under certain managers. So I never tend to read too much into it. Because
also, you've got to factor in the cultural side where it's a very chaotic environment at Swindon, whereas in Grimsby Town, it's very calm, it's very structured, if you like. It's maybe a better environment for a young lad finding his way in the senior game to go into.
Yeah, which certainly seems to have helped McEachran this season. So thankfully, I didn't listen to those fans last summer. But yeah, he looks excellent. I would love him to stay. But the big difference between him and Denver Hume is if he goes, we make money. If McEachran moves on, we're looking at
600 grand, something like that.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, he's only got a year left on his contract, so whether that would bring that down a little bit, a bit of money and add-ons. I mean, I don't know. We can speculate all the time. I don't know what they would put on there. That can depend on how many clubs are interested in all sorts, can't it? So, but at the end of the day, we would make money that I would be confident that we would reinvest well into the squad. And also, like you say, that Turi, he looks a similar mould in the small amount of time I've seen him play for us. I mean, it would be a big ask for him to step up and have a season like George McEachran, but there's potential there that we've already got a player in that similar mould. So, yeah, I mean, in terms of that central midfield position, I don't think we'll be bringing many players in unless we see McEachran leave or unless we see Ev Corey switching to left back, and then he might bring in another central midfielder.
Yeah, I think if McEachran stays, I think you probably only need one more midfielder. Because I think it is, at the moment, it is quite an enviable situation to have 4 very good options vying for 3 spots, unless you're right about Curry moving to left back. But I don't know if that's going to be the first choice sort of option. So, yeah, 4 players plus Brian competing for 3 spots, I think is a great position to be in. I mean, I could imagine one more midfielder coming in, maybe 2 if McEachran goes. But, yeah, midfield looking good, isn't it?
I mean, I guess in terms of Thompson... And, of course, Davies, wasn't it, who left for us? I was ticking over going, who was in that central midfield position. We didn't see that much of Davies. You almost forget about him. He spent most...
Luca as well. Similar situation, really, I suppose. He was...
Yeah, I mean, he was more attacking, wasn't he? But, but those two in particular, Thompson and Davies, I would have thought would have been on fairly substantial wages. So there's certainly money freed up there to bring in that new midfielder. So yeah. But I think it's a strong position for us as it stands.
I'm really glad. I'd like to sort of touch on Evan Curry a bit more, Adam, because I know that when he first broke through and got some early appearances under Paul Hurst. There seemed to be some actually, recognition that this is quite a talented player, quite excited to see how he develops. And I think I'm right in saying he had a year or two where his career seemed to go a little bit quiet, and fans were maybe wondering sort of where he was at. But then since Artel's come in, he seems to have really gone up another level, and we're back to seeing all those qualities he's got, sound technically, and pretty good physical specimen as well.
Yeah, again, we talk a lot about Kieran Green and how last summer a lot of people were disappointed that he stayed. I wouldn't have been disappointed if Corey had left us last summer.
Really?
Yeah. I felt those signs of potential at times, but I just felt he wasn't offering enough. I do feel he's had a good season, though, this last season. I'm still not completely sold on him, though, Gab. And this is probably me as a bit of an outlier here. I think there'll be other Town fans here shaking their head and disagreeing with me. I think he's a good combative player at times. I think what really frustrates me about him is, and what he really needs to work on, and I'm sure he and David both know this, is when he gets in front of goal, he just lashes at it. I mean, he's played best part of 100 games for the Mariners now. It must be coming up to close to 100 games. He scored 3 times for us.
Right.
And he certainly should have. I can think of several chances where he should have scored. So that tally should be more. Yeah, right. Granted, I'm probably being a bit harsh. He's a young lad, but he's not a natural finisher. And I do also worry, but again, this could be my lack of tactical knowledge, lack of football knowledge, but I do worry that McEachran just makes him look even better.
Okay.
McEachran's that good a player in central midfield that it's just elevated Corey.
Well, I definitely think it helps that somebody like McEachran, and I've said this, throughout Artel's first season, I felt like you needed that number 6 who has that courage to really accept the ball off the defence and demand the ball off people and get things going. And that's what I think McEachran does really well. And so I can see how that loosens things up a bit more for Evan Curry, but I also think he does have some very genuine qualities that he's brought to midfield again. But he's probably needed that reference point, if you like, in McEachran, somebody who can start those attacks and give Curry some momentum in his performances.
Yeah, I mean, he's full on energy. I'll certainly give him that. He's full on energy. I guess similar to the Clifton mould there.
Yeah, I think he's a bit. I think he's got a decent left peg as well. I think he's got a slightly higher technical ceiling than Clifton. That's just my perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that's interesting. Well, hopefully Evan Curry can add a few more goals to his game next season, and that would elevate him up another level, wouldn't it?
Yeah. You watch him get 15 now, and we'll revisit this clip. You'll be making sure it goes viral, Gab.
Absolutely. I'll hire an editor just to clip up this bit.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, Kieran Green, then. I mean, he's had some really Hollywood moments last season. Certainly, probably his best individual campaign to date, I would think.
Yeah. I mean, outstanding. I mean, some of the assists where he's playing balls with the outside of his foot and some of his driving runs, and he's just been absolutely excellent for us. And obviously that, the Harrogate goal, sorry, Gab, I'm going to have to reminisce again because it was just a thing of beauty. I mean, we did that one as a weekend away. I did it with a couple of mates, and we went to.
Did you ever go to the spa retreat?
On the Friday we stayed in York.
Oh right, yeah.
And so I had a night out in York. I mean, and then went to the game, and that was there on the Saturday, slightly hungover after a heavy night and stuff. And my brother was right behind me, and as Green hit that shot, he really, really loud, furious with him because it looked like he'd played a through. It looked like he'd played a through ball to Barrington, and George was incredibly loud, just sort of like, "What are you doing, Grit? What?" It was like one of those beautiful moments. So yeah, but what was great was at half time, I went down to the front and I cut him through the crowd there because obviously it's terraced crowd and heading off to the loo. And there was an elderly couple at the front apologising, squeezing past and stuff. And I said, I've never seen anything like that from a Grimsby player. And the lady quite angrily said, well, I didn't see it. And I couldn't help but ask why. And she said, because a pigeon had just pooed on him, pointing to a fella, and it just asked me to wipe it off. So the best goal that Grimsby will possibly ever score, and she's wiping bird mess off a fella's back.
Oh no!
he watched the whole thing. She's around the back of him with a wet wipe. And
oh my god! I wonder what she was thinking for the Nathan Arnold goal against Forest Green.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, Green, superb season.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the energy that he brings and the pressing as well and the running off the ball. There's the Harrogate goal and also the finish at Grimsby as well, which I thought was very well worked. Where I think Denver Hume just slotted him through and. So he's definitely shown the ability to get into those. Well, I say goal scoring areas. Your own half probably isn't a goal scoring area.
Yeah, exactly.
But,
but the confidence of the man to even take that on. I mean, so many footballers wouldn't even try that. Just wouldn't cross your mind to. And obviously, confidence is flowing through that man this season. And and that's coming from somewhere because that hasn't always been there. So. Credit to, I guess, the coaching team again, Artell and co, for him to even feel confident enough to try that. Because yeah.
Absolutely. I think I'm going to do a little bit like what you've done with Corey and play the Simon Cowell figure a bit more. And I suppose if we're looking at this midfield option, I think you've definitely got that creativity from those deeper areas because even if McEachran goes, you've got Geza Turley there, who I've not seen much of him, but hopefully he can do a similar job. But I'm just thinking in terms of creativity in those advanced areas, bearing in mind we are still early-ish June, so loads of the window still to go. I think in that sort of advanced midfield area, whether it's an 8 or maybe a 10, I'd probably be looking for somebody who can provide that sprinkling of magic. And I don't mean that to disrespect Kieran Green, because I think he's had some brilliant individual moments where you think, wow. But I don't think he's a guy who's going to create at a really high volume. And therefore, I'm just wondering, when Artell was at Crewe, he had a lad called Tommy Lowry who provides a bit more of that sort of wizardry, if you like. I'm just wondering if they're going to be looking at a similar sort of profile of player, because to my eyes, that's the kind of thing that your midfield options may be missing.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's what they were hoping Davies was going to bring for us last season. And obviously injuries prevented that from even starting or getting off the ground. So yeah, definitely. Somebody more attack minded, because actually, more I think about it, there was Ainley in the squad as well.
Yeah, that's true.
Who left from that similar role, that similar position, just didn't work out for him. So yeah, a fit Davies or a more effective Ainley type character would certainly improve and bolster the squad. But I still think off the back of last season, I mean, around Christmas time last season, Kieran Green would probably have won Player of the Year. He was doing that well. So there's times where, people were crying out for it to be him. So there's still a place for Kieran, for definite in this squad. But yeah. I mean, if we're going to be really serious about threatening the higher echelons of the league, we need
one or two extra creative options in those advanced areas.
Definitely.
Yeah, so I want to go to the attack, the sort of wide forwards. I mean, Span Thorson's had, I think, a pretty promising debut campaign after joining from the Nordic region. I'm going to vary it because I can't quite remember who he signed from. I'm going to say Nordic, but it's been a decent opening campaign for him, and I feel like he's somebody who could, now he's found his feet in English football, could go up another gear next season.
Yeah, yeah. He obviously signed from the Icelandic leagues, Van Forsen. When he first signed, I there was flashes, but he just seemed quite lightweight. He seems to have added something to his game, though. Again, whether that's confidence, whether that's just getting used to playing in this country. I mean, it was around sort of the new year where things seemed to start clicking more and more for him, and he just seemed to grow in confidence and was at times gliding past players. And yeah, a decent debut campaign for him. So yeah, I'm excited to see where now he's again got a bit more experience, where next season will take him, because I think again there's ability there, there's potential for him to be a key player for us, or potentially even in the league. But then at the same time, if he doesn't progress much, you're going to be going, yeah, he's not bad, is he? But yeah, it's how much he can kick on.
Do you think, Adam, if he can add that extra bit of body strength, that could be the key to him going from a 7 out of 10 to an 8 or a 9? Because I do feel like, maybe, a summer in the gym, sometimes that can, you feel more confident engaging in those physical duels. You've got more of a platform then to show your talent.
Yeah, I do think... potentially just that. I mean, you see those players that just seem to brush people off, don't you, with their strength, their upper body strength, and they're not necessarily the biggest of people. But I mean, somebody like Messi's been great at that. And I know we're talking extremes here. We're talking possibly the greatest player to have ever played the game. But going again, another Argentinian, Maradona. They're not big people, but they're so solid and use their body so well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would be nice to see him sort of build that strength or that confidence too. Knock a few defenders about as he's going through.
Absolutely. So then, do you think Charles Vernam, is it one more year he's got left on his deal then, Charles Vernam? I think he can possibly make a difference to games from the bench. I'm not, to be honest, I don't think he's somebody who really excites me at this level, just because as much as I think he's a very gifted ball carrier, I think my two main question marks are productivity, because if you look at his numbers, he can have some amazing individual moments like Colchester away a few seasons ago, but he's not somebody who's delivered the numbers over a whole season necessarily. And secondly is injuries as well, which have probably got in the way for him. So that's my slight reservation about having Charles Vernam as backup, because if he does his leg sort of, then you've only got Span Thorson there, unless you move Burns or Romales or over to the other side.
Yeah, again, that so many of our attacking options last season suffered with injuries, and Vernam again was one of those. He has purple patches, Vernam. He has times where he'll have 2 or 3 games where you go, no, do you know what? He does look the real deal. He's direct here. He travels with the ball well. He gets shots off. He makes stuff happen. But he's also a player that will disappear. I don't just mean to the treatment table. I mean within games that he's actually on. He is a player that can disappear at times. So again, I mean, I think we're not looking to move him out. We'll be hoping to use him next year. I just hope we can use him a bit, because he's a useful option to have, because he can have moments of brilliance. And,
sure.
And he has got a great shot on him.
And
I
he is
guess.
one of those players, Adam, just to add to that, he is one of those players, as well as having that quick and direct side, he is also the kind of player who can travel through a body of opponents and come out with the ball. He does have that skill about him to manipulate the ball. So he does have that going for him.
He does, yeah. So he's the sort of player that you're 1-0 down at home to Barrow, you've got 20 minutes left, throw him on. Something could happen. It could be his day. He could come on for 20 minutes and do very little, but he could just hit that screamer or go on that run. He's got potential impact in him. So, yeah, I mean, again, useful player to have around if he remains fit. But unfortunately, the last few years of his career, he's really struggled to do that. And I do worry for him that if he doesn't remain fit this year, we will probably find ourselves looking at releasing him. And then,
I think so.
And then for a player at his age, heading to around 30, he'll be then early 30s. It's going to be difficult for him to pick up a club. And so it'll be interesting to see what actually happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, best luck to him. Hopefully, he can make a big impact. So, in terms of the right forward options, they're both kind of unknown quantities in a way, because in terms of Football League wise, because you've got, in terms of what Grimsby Town fans have seen, because you've got Darren Burns, who signed from the League of Ireland at MK Dons in 2022, I think it was, and wasn't able to do an awful lot there. I think that was a difficult season for them collectively. Gone back to the League of Ireland, done well. Hopefully he might do better in the Football League this time around. And then you've also signed Justin Malazor from Barnet, who 28, didn't necessarily hit the big numbers last season. I think it was 4 goals and 2 assists for him. I mean, I'm reasonably excited about Burns. I can see that Malazor is very quick and strong and direct, but I'm still looking at that right wing spot and thinking there's not really a big hitter there. So you're relying on one of those two sort of coming good.
Yeah. I mean, I've only seen little bits of Burns because, well, he's only played in little parts. I mean, he's not had a real run yet. I haven't seen much yet that's excited me, but then I'm not going to write him off because,
of course,
like I say, he hasn't had a run. He hasn't had sometimes players can have a pre-season with a team and that allows them to kick on and get the feet in. And this season, again, I guess is a big season in his career. It's his next go at having a go within the English pyramid. This is his chance. Can he impress? We shall see. He did sign a longer contract though, so he is with us for 2 or 3 more years. Yes, so 3 more years. Yeah. So I guess he's got time on his side there, potentially. And obviously the signing from Altrincham, I guess. They were trying to offer something different there with the pace and power that he's apparently got. I mean, actually, if a lot of our attacking options last season, like we've already spoken about, if he just has 2 legs that stay working for the season, that'll offer us something different. But great.
That was missing last season then, Adam, that infusion of directness and pace and getting on opponents that way.
Yeah, I think it was something that, we lacked at times. Yeah, I do. Yeah. I mean, Vernon has got a little bit of that directness and pace and stuff. But again, he didn't play frequently. So, yeah, that pace and power, that just going at teams, it can terrify defences. And also, obviously, we've had a history with the Omar Bogle Tender song, the 1990s classic song turned into a chant. There's the Beck loser song, so perfect for I'm a loser. I mean, yeah, it just
I was
works perfectly.
I was purposefully pronouncing his name to avoid that particular.
Yeah. I thought you might have done the same. So yeah, we've got potential 90 songs always make for a good chant, don't they?
So what was the Omar Bogle song then?
So Tender. Oh my Bogle, oh my Bogle,
I've never heard
oh
of that.
my,
Who was Tender by?
Blur.
Oh, Blair. Okay, I've never heard that song. Right.
Yeah, we need something more obvious for you.
I thought when you said Tender, I thought it was the Elvis Presley song "Love Me Tender."
No. I'll send you the link. Oh, great song turned into a great chant. We need a more obvious 90s one for you. We need to sign somebody called Mark Life or something. There'll be somebody in the lower leagues for a Park Life, don't we? Mark Life.
Mark Life.
All the people. Yeah, 90s songs are great for chants.
Yeah. Right, so Danny Rose then, Adam. I did speak to him after the final day against Wimbledon, and I think it's clear that he's had to evolve his game a little bit, because whereas earlier in his career and even at Stevenage, I would say he was a fantastic runner and able to go and press for 90 minutes and use that side of his game to wonderful effect. It's something he's done throughout his career. He is coming, not far from a veteran at this stage, but he is coming towards a stage where maybe he can't sustain that kind of impact. And so he's had to evolve and add different levels to his game. And I think he's learned a lot from David in terms of adding that technical and tactical bits that maybe he didn't have earlier in his career. So are we looking at a more evolved version of Danny Rose, still with that sort of bits of that running power, but also a different qualities on top of that?
Yeah, I mean, he still likes to chase stuff down at times. But I do feel, again, even when I think back to last season, he used to, like you say, he used to chase everything down. Those times where you thought, there's not much point in that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he chase a crisp packet type player, one of those, just after everything. But yeah, he's in what is a young squad. He's invaluable experience. He's played around this sort of level for years, and again, he has got plenty of qualities. I mean, there's the strikers that I would have over him at this level for definite, but I'm also delighted that he is with us still. And he does parts of the game superbly, plays parts of the game superbly well. I mean, even down to he wins your free kicks. Again, you can call it the dark arts at times.
Free kicks.
Exactly. He knows when's a good time to, right, he's leaning on me here. He's got an arm there. Let's go down. Here's a perfect spot for a free kick. And
he's played for Steve Evans, Adam. What do you expect?
Exactly. Yeah. So, good striker. I'm pleased we've got another year, but we need to add around him this season.
Well, I agree. I definitely think Town have to add another striker, but I'm also excited about Cam Gardner. I think I'm gonna class him as a versatile forward, because I also think you could put him in the depth chart for the right of a front three or the left of a front three as a sort of inside forward, if you like. I think if Town play a 3-5-2, like they have done in the last third of this campaign, that obviously puts him up the pecking order with the extra striker spot. I think he's going to get into a lot of matchday squads this season. I think he's a very exciting talent with some really raw ingredients. He's had a breakthrough season this year, if you like, in terms of getting in and around the squad. I think there's a chance that he has a breakout season next year.
Yeah, there's definitely a chance. But that's exactly what it is with young players like that. It's a chance, and he will certainly get it at some point next season, whether that's through injuries, whether that's through cup games, whether that's through just being put on for 20 minutes, half an hour in games early on in the season. I guess when you're raw and inexperienced like that, you've just got to take that chance. And because he takes it, you could be absolutely bang on the money there, Gab. If he doesn't take it, he might be loaned out to some lower league or national league side such as Scunthorpe. So we wouldn't wish that on him, Gab. We wouldn't wish that on him. But it can. Who knows? Who knows? With a player that age, it can go either way. And I guess it's the most difficult time in any player's career because it's at that point where you've got somebody like Danny Rose. If we release Danny Rose today, he gets another contract before
I think his reputation in League Two definitely gets him another contract at this level, 100%.
Yeah. So somebody like Cam Gardner, it's almost make or break for a year or two. As it's this young age, you've got to take your chances when they come. Otherwise, you can find yourself no longer a professional footballer within 2 or 3 seasons.
Although he has got, I think, time's on his side a little bit as well, because if I'm not mistaken, he's got another 2 or 3 years possibly left for his deal. So,
yeah, I think another couple of years after this one. So yeah, again, like you say, that speaks volumes of what the club, what Artell think of him, and what a prospect he potentially is. But again, it's a prospect. It's not a finished article. Let's wait and see. Let's wait 100%. And see.
I think what I would say though is, as much as I really like Danny Rose, and I think Cam Gardner's a very exciting talent, I think probably one more striker in a similar mould, Justin Obikwu, someone who has got that is a bit younger, but is also very physically developed. I think that's going to be not a major priority like a goalkeeping position is, but I think it would definitely help another striker in the Obikwu mould if you're not able to get the man himself.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm certain we will have a chat about Obikwu, but I don't think he will be coming again. Just because I think they will be looking to play him higher up. I think Coventry will be hoping if he is going to go out on loan again, that's to a League One club. So, yeah, again, a physical striker, one that can stretch a team with a bit of pace as well. Someone that can get in behind and can cause issues that way. Yeah, I mean, for me, again, I can see that probably being, like you say, possibly being a loan signing. I can see us bringing in that and trying to use the experience of Rose to alongside some 19, 20-year-old young lad trying to make it in the game with bags of potential, but again, raw potential. And they're always gamble signings, aren't they? But sometimes, I mean, look at the lad at Walsall last season. I mean, they got it absolutely spot on. They almost got it too right, and he only had half a season with them.
Yeah.
But you can get an absolute gem like that, or you can get the opposite, ones that don't work out for varying reasons. So, yeah, I can see that being a youngster on loan, Gab.
Yeah, well, we'll see who they go for. So, with that in mind, one of my processes for putting together the 1 to 24 that I'm going to be doing in late July is basically kind of scoring each team on 14 sort of major variables that I think are going to determine their chances. Now, a lot of these are unknown a little bit at the moment because we don't know what recruitment's going to look like. But let's kind of put together some guesses, and so quick fire out of 10, score me Grimsby Town on each of these categories.
10 being highest, Gab.
10 being highest, yeah. Okay. So ownership, 10. Would you go with 9 or 10?
9. I'm going 9, Gab. I'm going 9.
Okay.
Catch me next season and we've just been promoted, and I might be changing that.
Okay. Fair enough. infrastructure and the operation at the club, what would you go for?
So in terms of the operation, and obviously I presume you're linking in the Jamestown analytics with that and the recruitment operation. Again, I would at the moment score that quite highly. If you're talking infrastructure in terms of the training ground and facilities and stuff as well, that would drag
training ground probably needs a little bit of love, doesn't it?
Yeah, that would drag it down a bit. So
it's quite a broad category, isn't it? Should we say a 6 to kind of compromise?
Yeah, we'll go 6. I'll sort of 6, 7 there. Yeah, we'll go 6 because the training ground and areas of it. Yeah,
that makes sense. Now, budget, I think there might be a 4 or a 5. Even though you've got quite a big fan base, I don't think you're sort of club that's going to spend a huge amount of money. So, what would you go for in terms of the budget, do you think?
Yeah, I think 5. I think, again, Blundell Park eats up a bit of that budget and just being such an old stadium. And, 5.
Yeah. Okay. Management.
I'm gonna go for a 9 again.
Gonna go for a 9. Yeah, I agree with you on that. In terms, just look at the number of players that have developed so much.
Yeah.
All right. So at the moment, one category is the goalkeeping department, which we don't know. So we'll kind of have to say not applicable. Defense. What would you go on personnel right now for the defense?
Right now, I would go. I mean, it's hard because we don't know the fullbacks, really, do we? True. So I'm going on the centre. I'm going on the centre halves. I would be going a 6 at the moment, but potential to go higher depending on who we sign as fullbacks. And
should we say a 6 for now, but with the potential to be a 7 or 8, depending on the recruitment?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, midfield. I think I'd score that quite high.
Yeah, again, I certainly would. If we keep McEachran and if Tory kicks on as well, I mean, it could be a big season for him. So potentially I'd go 8.
Tory in Grimsby was very unpopular.
Yeah, definitely. 8.
Right, 8. Okay. Attack. I mean, there are a few options there, actually. The attack's a bit more developed in terms of depth.
It is, yeah. I still think, though, we are going to, like you say, want to bring in somebody along an out attacker.
Yeah.
But again, that could be an unknown quantity that you could just, be a case of going, I mean, the other thing that we have got as well is another potential for an overseas player because Svan Thorsen played so much last season. It opens up a chance for us to bring in another one.
I'm glad you know how it works because I've not got a clue.
Yeah. Oh, it's only from listening to interviews with Artel and basically, if one of your players plays, you're allowed 2 in the squad. If one of them plays a certain amount of games in a season, that allows you to get that third one in. Is the rule at League 2 level.
That certainly helps. Hopefully, we'll see some good recruitment from across the continent then.
Exactly. But again, that could be such an unknown quantity. So for attack, I would go a 6 as it stands.
Okay, 6 as it stands. I'd probably go to a 7 myself, but I can see a 6. Depth right now, I mean, very difficult to judge depth right now before you've made another 6 or 7 signings. We can leave that one blank, shall we? And then...
I was going to say, I mean, depth right now compared to depth in 4 weeks' time could look extremely different.
I'll ask you about that one in a few weeks when made a few more signings. Squad stability. Well, this is a lot better than it was this time last year. So 8 or 9, I imagine.
I would say 8. I mean, the only one that I can see possibly going is McEachran. Could anybody come in for Corey, Svan Thorsen? I don't think they quite had, or McJanet. I don't think they quite had seasons that would have potentially, put them in the shop window that much. that a club would offer enough for us to say yes.
Mm.
Who knows? I mean, you never know with football, but yeah, I would say about an 8.
About an 8. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Growth potential. Now, I think I'm torn on this one because on the one hand, we've definitely seen loads of players that have improved exponentially, but I wouldn't say it's a particularly young group necessarily. There are some players like Curry. There's a few in the early 20s, but
Yeah.
what would you say for growth? About 7 in terms of growth potential?
Yeah, I mean, I do think across the squad, we've signed players from abroad in McJanet, in Burns, in Svan Forsen, in Turi, who have now had a half a season or a season to bed in. Some of those we may see a better season out of because they're more settled in the area.
Yeah.
It's the second year, they might feel more comfortable. So I think there's potential growth there. We have got a couple of youngsters, obviously in Cam Gardner. You've spoken about how he could kick on.
Yeah, I think so.
So yeah, I think there is a bit of potential there. So yeah, again, a 6,
About 6,
7,
okay.
6,
I'd go to a 7. Yeah, should we say 7?
7.
Spirit in the camp, I imagine there's a pretty good harmony. I think Artel's very good at people management. He's very honest, isn't he? And he can get people on the same page. So I would imagine you'd score the team spirit quite high.
Yeah, and I do also think that certain players that are big characters, Danny Rose, Kieran Green, Doug Tham, I could imagine they're the right sort of characters that you would want in that dressing room.
Yeah.
I think they're all experienced or fairly experienced pros that I could imagine would be decent characters from everything that you hear in interviews, you see out on the pitch. So yeah, I would say that that's pretty high, that one. Again, it's hard to go a 10 because you just don't know, do you? But I would, again, I'd be going a 9 again.
Okay, great. Fitness, what would you say? How did it look in terms of fitness last season? I mean, I suppose fitness in terms of injuries, you did have a few injuries last year, didn't you?
Yeah, I was about to say that. That depends on whether we're talking somebody like Ev Corey who can run all game, or whether we're talking somebody like Vernon or Davies. I know he's left now, or Donovan Wilson Pike, who seemed to be injured most of last season. So again, yeah, I mean, I don't think it's an issue with fitness. I think there potentially was an issue at times with injuries. So I'm going to go a 6 again.
6, yeah, that makes sense. And the final one is quality.
In terms of just level of footballers, in terms of quality we've got in the squad.
I'm talking technical quality, individual quality in the squad.
Yeah, individual technical quality. Yeah, I mean, there's certainly bits of it. Again, one player that with bags of that may leave. I mean, as the squad stands, I would potentially be going about a 7 there.
Yeah, I'd probably do the same.
Okay, 4 or 5 signings or 2 or 3 outgoings could completely alter that.
It.
So, yeah, 7, but bearing in mind it's the 9th of June.
Of course, yeah. We have to record these at very early on because we wouldn't be able to do all of them right before the start of the season. So that's great. A few more questions then before we wrap up, because I know we've kept you for a while.
Don't worry. I'm enjoying it.
Oh, lovely. What was I going to ask? Expectations for next season. I guess it goes back to what we've been talking about at the beginning, which is certainly for a fan base perspective, I imagine the expectation is going to be framed as top 7. I think from a club point of view, I think they might be more have a different philosophy, I guess, around it. But certainly from the fanboys' point of view, the expectation is playoffs or better.
Yeah, I mean, I personally would hope that worst case scenario, we're in a similar position to where we've just finished. And if there's mitigating circumstances, if you feel like we have just been a little bit unlucky, I could accept that. If we finish 9th, 10th, that sort of flirt with the playoffs and just miss out type season again. But like you say, you always hope for progress. And I actually feel, I mean, I guess you're in a better position to tell me this, but I do feel with the sides that have been promoted and the teams dropping into this level, and even Carlisle dropping out and the potential spending power that they had, I do feel that we could almost stand still and potentially have a slightly better outcome next season. Is my gut feeling on it.
I think that could be true, but also I think there's teams lower down that will probably get their act together. So there's teams like MK Dons, Gillingham,
they've been spending, haven't
who
they?
have underachieved massively relative to their respective budgets, and they'll probably be better. So I think you could look at it either way.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
You can have other sides that have done fairly well this season that drop, that go the other way. I mean, Walsall's second half of the season, I mean, they could easily drop into the bottom half if they continue. So, yeah, I would hope at least playoffs. Worst case scenario, we're flirting with them. I mean, automatic's a dream, but
never know.
Yeah.
What's the biggest reason to believe in Grimsby Town right now?
Jamestown analytics links. I just think that's so exciting when you see what it's done elsewhere for other clubs. That data-driven approach. I think at this level, I mean, I think a lot of teams are going that way now, and especially higher up. But I think at this level that is going to give us such an advantage over a lot of teams that still wouldn't have taken that on board, or not to the same level that we are doing. So I think that just gives us such an edge in the transfer market. And I think that there's potential that we could see a couple of signings this summer that you just go, yeah, wow, okay, they've spotted something there that we didn't expect. I mean, we've only brought one player in, but who's to say that Justin, there you go, I'm not going to call him it now, doesn't come in and just, really impress us. It seems a curveball signing, but they've obviously spotted something there within the data with it. And so, I just think that Jamestown analytics link is such a beneficial link for the club.
Absolutely. What's your biggest reason for doubt? I mean, from my point of view, I think it's addressing the defending set pieces, because I think that was possibly the one thing that held you back a bit last year. But I'll be hoping that whereas at the start of pre-season last summer, it kind of fell by the wayside a little bit because the focus was all on developing the style, and that was the number one priority. This time around, the style is already ingrained, and the players know what they're they're in for, if you like, and they know their roles and responsibilities. So you can put a bit more focus onto defending set pieces and ironing those things out. So, but that would be the one thing that I think, you've got to try and address that.
Yeah, I do think, just defensive lapses, defending set pieces, but just at times defending in general. I mean, we conceded a lot last season, which again I think is partly down to our style of play. But I think there were only about 4 or 5 teams that actually conceded more than us, and 2 of those were the sides that went down. It's hard to concede that many and then be in the playoffs. And we've still within us, I mean, we saw it towards the end of the season against Swindon. We still have that odd game where we just seem to absolutely fold. For whatever reason, we just seem to collapse against the side. So that almost needs addressing. But if we tighten up and concede 10, 15 less goals next season, whether that's against set pieces or open play or whatever, that could be the
I
difference.
guess you automatics. I mean, on this season's evidence, there were 75 points that got you automatic. So, yeah,
Yeah,
I think that could be huge if you can just tighten up on those set pieces.
definitely.
And too early for a prediction, obviously, because it's the 9th of June. But what would give me a number between 1 and 10 to denote your level of optimism that your expectations can be realised?
8. I'm fairly optimistic. Yeah. Yeah, 8.
Lovely. Oh, brilliant. Well,
Pre-season optimism. That bit of sun on me recently. It's all gone to my head, Gab. It's yeah. Come and see
absolutely.
me. Is it 9th of August or whatever at 5 o'clock, and I'll be all that optimism. All of
When the
I'll be
football
bursting
action
into
starts.
me pint, and we're
Yeah.
useless again.
Adam, it's been such a pleasure to chat to you. Plans for the View from the Findus podcast for next year? Carry on as normal?
Yeah, carry on as normal. We're potentially going to do another couple of interviews over the summer of ex-players. So there was a Holohan interview that we released a week or so ago. Thoroughly enjoyed doing that one. And then, yeah, a bit of downtime and then go again next season and just continue enjoying it and having fun on Sunday evenings.
Lovely stuff. Well, keep up the great work on the View from the Findus podcast, and I'd ask anyone to go and subscribe. You can also subscribe to EFL Debate on YouTube and on Spotify for more of these summer deep dive podcasts. Thanks for watching at home, Mariners. Thanks to Adam once again for joining us from View from the Findus podcast, and we'll see you again for another summer deep dive very soon.